The sky above New Washington lit up with strange lights. It was not like a meteor shower or the northern lights. These lights moved with purpose. People pointed and stared. Some ran home in fear. Others took videos with their phones. Captain John Miller stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters. His uniform was pressed and neat. He had been chosen for this moment, the first official contact with aliens from beyond our solar system. "Sir, we're getting strange readings," said Linda Baker, his communications officer. "The ship is massive, bigger than anything we've ever built." John nodded but kept his face calm. He had been preparing for this day for years, though he never truly believed it would come. Humanity had spread to Mars and Europa in the past decades. The year 2087 had already seen many advances, but nothing like this. "Tell the Welcome Committee to stand by." "No weapons visible," John ordered. "We don't want to seem hostile." The alien ship descended slowly through the clouds. It was silver and smooth, shaped like a giant oval. It had no visible engines or windows. It made no sound as it hovered above the landing pad that had been cleared for this moment. President Claire Wilson stood nearby with Lisa Garcia, Earth's newly appointed diplomat. Lisa adjusted her jacket and tried to look confident. She had been chosen for her skill in solving conflicts and understanding different cultures. But no human training could truly prepare her for this. A door opened in the side of the ship. Light poured out. 3 figures walked down a ramp that appeared from nowhere. The alien in front was tall and thin. Its skin was pale blue. It had 4 arms and walked with a strange grace. 2 smaller aliens followed behind, carrying devices that looked like tablets. "I am High Counselor Zexterra of the Vordarian species," the tall alien said in perfect English. "I speak for the Galactic Council, a union of 47 advanced civilizations. We welcome Earth to the galactic community." John stepped forward as planned. "I am Captain John Miller of the United Earth Defense Force. On behalf of Earth, we welcome you to our world." The alien made a gesture with its upper arms. "We have been watching your planet for centuries. Your species has advanced quickly. Some would say too quickly." Lisa felt a chill at these words. There was something in the alien's tone that didn't match the friendly words. "The Council has voted to offer Earth probationary membership," Zexterra continued. "This is a great honor. Many species wait millennia for such an invitation." President Wilson smiled. "We are honored by your offer and eager to learn about our galactic neighbors." "Of course," the alien said. "There are some conditions. All developing species must follow certain rules to ensure the safety and stability of the galaxy." They moved to a large meeting room prepared for this moment. Maps of the galaxy were displayed on screens. Earth looked tiny and alone on the edge of a vast civilization. "Your technology will need to be regulated," Zexterra explained. "Military development beyond your current level will be prohibited. Space expansion must be approved by council vote. These are standard procedures for new members." Lisa frowned. She had been studying diplomatic relations her whole life. This didn't sound like an equal partnership. It sounded like restrictions, like Earth was being contained. "How long does probationary status last?" she asked. The alien turned all 4 of its eyes toward her. "That depends on how well your species adapts to civilization. Some take centuries. Others never advance beyond probation." Later that night, Lisa sat in her office reviewing the documents the aliens had provided. John entered with 2 cups of coffee. "What do you think?" he asked, handing her a cup. Lisa looked up from her screen. "I think they're afraid of us. The question is why." John looked out the window at the alien ship glowing in the darkness. "Maybe we should be afraid of them too." Lisa nodded slowly. "The council might believe they're welcoming us, but I sensed they'd just made a very big mistake." 6 months passed quickly. Lisa Garcia stared out the window of the space shuttle as it approached the massive ring-shaped station that served as the Galactic Council headquarters. The structure was bigger than any city on Earth, with thousands of lights glowing against the blackness of space. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Kevin Wright said. He was Lisa's assistant, young and eager but smart. He had been chosen for his quick mind and photographic memory. "It's designed to impress," Lisa replied, "and to remind new species how small they are." Their shuttle docked at one of the hundreds of bays along the outer ring. A green-skinned alien with 6 legs met them at the airlock. "I am Guide Telix. I will show you to your quarters and then to the council chamber," it said in a flat voice. "The session begins in 3 hours. Do not be late." The halls of the station were huge and filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Lisa could not guess which parts were heads and which were limbs. The air smelled of unknown spices and chemicals. Kevin took notes on his tablet as they walked. "I count representatives from at least 30 different species just in this section," he whispered. Their rooms were small but comfortable. The furniture adjusted itself to human shape when they sat down. Food appeared in slots in the wall, looking like Earth dishes, but with slightly wrong colors. "We have 2 hours before the meeting," Lisa said. "Let's use the computer terminal they gave us. I want to learn more about how the council really works." Kevin nodded and began typing on the alien keyboard. The symbols changed to English letters as he worked. "Most of the basic information is what they already told us," he said after a while. "But wait, I found something interesting. There's a classification system for all member species." Lisa looked over his shoulder. "What's our classification?" Kevin's face grew serious. "We're listed as a Class 3 aggressive species. There's a note that says we show concerning development patterns and territorial tendencies." Lisa wasn't surprised. "Keep looking. See what restrictions apply to our class." After an hour of searching, they found the truth. Class 3 species were never allowed full voting rights. Their military growth was permanently limited. Their expansion was controlled forever, not just during a probation period. "They lied to us," Lisa said quietly. "This isn't temporary. They never intend to make us equal members." The council chamber was enormous. Thousands of alien delegates sat in rising circles around a central speaking area. The ceiling was so high it disappeared in mist. Earth's small delegation was seated in the outer ring, far from the center. High Counselor Zex Terra stood in the middle and spoke in a booming voice. "Today we welcome representatives from Earth, our newest probationary member." Polite sounds came from the gathered aliens, their version of applause. "Now we must vote on the human containment protocols," Zex Terra continued. Lisa frowned. "Containment? They told us these were standard integration procedures." The vote happened quickly. One by one, the main council species approved limits on human space travel, military growth, and technology development. Earth would not be allowed to settle beyond their solar system without permission. Warships could not exceed current numbers. Research in certain fields would be monitored by council observers. When it was over, Lisa stood up despite protocol. Earth was promised these restrictions would be temporary, she called out. The chamber grew quiet. Zex Terra turned all 4 eyes toward her. "All restrictions are temporary, human. They will be lifted when your species proves it is not a threat. That may take centuries, or longer." As they left the chamber, an elderly alien with wrinkled gray skin pulled Lisa aside. "I am Vosenil of the Exin Fall," he whispered. "Heed my warning. The Council fears what they cannot control, and they have never seen a species like yours before." Back in their rooms, Lisa and Kevin sat in silence for a long time. "What do we tell Earth?" Kevin finally asked. "The truth," Lisa replied. "And then we start planning. The Council thinks they've secured their future by containing us. They don't realize they've just sealed their own fate." 2 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. On the surface, humans followed the rules. They smiled at Council observers and filled out permission forms. They stopped building new warships. They stayed within their solar system. But beneath this obedience, humans worked in secret. They studied the Council's technology. They made plans. Kevin Wright sat alone in his small office on the council station. His job was to file Earth's regular reports. It was boring work, but it gave him access to the council's computer systems. Late at night, when most aliens were sleeping or in their rest cycles, Kevin searched through restricted files. He had discovered a back door into the central database 3 months ago. Tonight, he found something important. Growth rate comparison charts, he whispered to himself. The files showed how quickly different species evolved and adapted. Humans were far faster than any other council race. Where alien species took thousands of years to change, humans could adapt in just a few generations. Kevin copied the files and sent an encoded message to Earth. Found the reason they fear us. On Earth, Susan Bennett read Kevin's message in her underground office. As head of Earth intelligence, she collected all information about the Council. The picture was becoming clearer, but they needed more proof. "We need to see their secure archives," she told President Wilson. "The real records, not the public ones." The president looked worried. That would mean breaking Council law. If we're caught, they could remove us from the Council entirely. "We're already planning to leave," Susan reminded him. "But we need to know what we're really facing." 1 month later, Susan arrived at the Council's secure vault on Proxima Centauri IV. She wore the disguise of a minor Council clerk, her face changed by careful surgery to look like the Jaxari species. The guards barely looked at her ID card. Inside the vault were physical records, actual paper and crystal storage. The Council kept their most important secrets offline, away from any network that could be hacked. Susan worked quickly. She had only 2 hours before the real clerk would be found tied up in a supply closet. She photographed everything she could find about aggressive species management. What she discovered was shocking. Earth wasn't the first species the Council had restricted. There were 17 others before them. Some had been completely destroyed when they resisted. Others were now slave races, their home planets stripped of resources. The pattern was always the same. Fast-evolving species were classified as threats. They were contained, and if they fought back, they were eliminated. Susan barely made it out before the alarm sounded. On her flight back to Earth, she studied the images she had taken. One file stood out, details on Council weapon systems. They were powerful, but had not changed in over 500 years. The Council didn't innovate. They just used the same technology over and over. Meanwhile, on Earth, a new visitor arrived. Dr. Mevnar of the Linteri species had requested political asylum. He was a scientist who had worked for the Council for decades. "I can no longer support their methods," he told Lisa Garcia. "The Council has stopped all true scientific progress. They fear change." Dr. Mevnar brought valuable information. He explained the Council's weaknesses, their slow decision-making, their outdated technology, their fear of the unknown. "They have ruled for 10,000 years using the same tactics," he said. "They don't understand species like yours that adapt quickly. It terrifies them." Earth began a secret program called Leap Forward. Hidden labs deep underground worked on technologies beyond Council restrictions. They improved ship engines, weapon systems, and communication devices. Susan looked at the new prototype engine that Dr. Mevnar had helped design. It was smaller than the Council version, but twice as powerful. "How long until we can put this in a ship?" she asked the engineer beside her. 6 months, he replied. "Maybe less." Susan nodded. "Then we have 6 months to prepare for what comes next." "And what is that?" the engineer asked. "The day we stop pretending to follow their rules," Susan said. "The day we show the Galactic Council they made a terrible mistake." The Galactic Council built a large base on Mars. They called it a monitoring outpost, but it had weapons and hundreds of soldiers. The message was clear. The Council was watching Earth closely. Alan Cooper worked as a mining engineer near the Council base. He drove his rover across the red Martian soil each day, checking equipment and fixing problems. The work was dull, but it gave him a good reason to be near the alien facility. One day, Alan noticed something odd. The Council ships were sending beams toward Earth. They weren't weapons, but scanning devices. Alan set up small cameras around his work area. At night, he reviewed the footage and saw that the Council was mapping all human military bases and ships. They're preparing for something. Alan told his supervisor over a secure line. We need to warn Earth. The warning reached Susan Bennett just as new problems began. Mars Colony 3, the largest human settlement on the planet, faced disaster. A terraforming station had malfunctioned, releasing toxic gas. 10,000 colonists were in danger. Commander Patricia Ramirez of the Earth Defense Force received urgent orders. Take the medical ship Northern Light to Mars immediately. Evacuate Colony 3. Patricia knew this would break Council rules. Military ships needed permission to travel between planets, even within the solar system. There was no time to file the proper forms. Request emergency assistance from the Council base on Mars. Patricia told her communications officer. The response came quickly. Council forces regret they cannot intervene due to non-interference protocols. Your request for military ship deployment is denied. Patricia's face hardened. They're letting people die because of paperwork. She turned to her crew. Prepare for immediate launch. We're going anyway. The Northern Light reached Mars in record time. The ship carried doctors, medicine, and evacuation pods. They landed near Colony 3 as the toxic gas levels rose. Council ships appeared above them. A stern voice came through the radio. Earth vessel Northern Light. You are in violation of Council Directive 5523. Cease operations and return to Earth. Patricia ignored them. Start the evacuation. Get everyone out. For 3 days, Earth forces worked without rest. They treated the sick and moved people to safety. The Council ships watched but did not help. When it was over, 9,000 people had been saved. Back on Earth, the Council ambassador demanded a meeting with President Wilson. Your military acted without permission, the ambassador said. This is a serious violation. The president remained calm. We saved our people when you refused to help. Rules exist for a reason, the ambassador insisted. The Council has voted to impose sanctions on Earth. Your resource allotment will be reduced by 30%. All space travel is suspended for 6 months. News of the sanctions spread quickly. People who had accepted Council rule now began to question it. If the aliens would let humans die rather than bend their rules, what else would they do? Susan Bennett met with military leaders in a secure room deep under New Washington. Public opinion has shifted, she told them. 90% of Earth's population now views the Council negatively. General Frank Peters nodded. The Mars incident showed their true nature. They don't care about human lives. It's time to move to the next phase, Susan said. Our secret ships are ready. The new colonies can be established within months. On Mars, Alan Cooper watched as Earth ships secretly delivered materials to hidden locations. New engines, weapons, and communication systems arrived in ordinary supply containers. At Colony 3, now rebuilt and safe, Patricia Ramirez addressed the people she had saved. The Council showed us their true face, she said. They would have watched you die rather than break their precious rules. Remember that when they tell you they're here to help us. A man in the crowd stood up. What are we going to do about it? Patricia smiled slightly. Earth has plans. The Council thinks they've taught us a lesson with these sanctions, but all they've done is show us why we can't live under their control. That night, the first secret ship left Earth's orbit, carrying colonists and supplies. It used the new engine that couldn't be detected by Council sensors. Its destination was a star system outside Council space. The rebellion had begun. Earth worked in secret for months. Hidden factories built ships with new engines. Scientists led by Dr. Olivia Daniels perfected a drive system that could not be tracked by Council technology. It bent space in a new way, leaving no energy trail to follow. In underground bases, Earth formed alliances with other species who resented Council rule. The Neri, small furry beings from a distant star, provided star maps of uncharted regions. The Vulturi, a race of tall blue humanoids, shared their knowledge of Council patrol routes. Even some Council members secretly helped, feeling the old system was unjust. "The first colony ship is ready," Olivia told Susan Bennett. They stood in a massive hidden hangar beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The ship was larger than anything Earth had built before. "How many people can it carry?" Susan asked. 5,000, Olivia replied, "plus all the supplies they need to start a new life." The location is perfect. A planet in the Proxima Centauri system. Rich soil, clean water, breathable air. We're calling it New Horizon. And the Council can't detect it. Olivia smiled. As far as they know, this ship doesn't exist. The first colony left Earth under cover of darkness. More followed, one ship each month. Soon, 10,000 humans lived on New Horizon, building homes and planting crops on a world beyond Council reach. Admiral Gregory Wilson led the defense fleet that protected the colony. His ships were smaller than Council vessels, but faster and more agile. Each carried weapons developed from Dr. Mevnar's designs. "We have movement at the edge of the system," his sensor officer reported one day. "Multiple Council ships. They found us." Gregory wasn't surprised. They knew this day would come. "Sound battle stations. Deploy the fleet in Formation Delta." The Council sent a message. "Illegal human settlement. You have violated Council Directive 2187. Surrender and prepare for relocation." Gregory didn't respond. His ships moved into position, looking small and weak compared to the massive Council fleet. The Council commander was confident. His ships had overwhelming firepower. He had won dozens of battles against other rebellious species. "Begin pacification," he ordered. What happened next shocked the Council forces. The human ships didn't fight like any species they had faced before. They used the gravity of nearby moons to gain speed. They attacked in small groups, striking weak points the Council didn't know they had. On his flagship, Gregory directed the battle calmly. Squad 2, hit their sensor arrays. Squad 4, target their engine sections. The Council ships were larger and stronger, but they were also slower and less creative. Their tactics hadn't changed in centuries. They didn't expect the humans to do anything new. After 6 hours of fighting, 3 Council ships retreated. 7 were damaged beyond repair. The human fleet had lost only 2 small vessels. On New Horizon, the colonists cheered as Gregory's fleet returned victorious. This was the first time any species had defeated a Council pacification fleet. News spread quickly through Council space. A species under restriction had won a battle against the Council's mighty forces. Other restricted races began to hope they too might break free. On Earth, President Wilson called an emergency meeting. "The Council will respond with greater force next time. We need to be ready." Lisa Garcia, now Earth's ambassador to other restricted species, stood up. "This is the moment to make our move. We've proven we can win a battle. Now we need to show we can win the war." "What do you suggest?" the president asked. "We publicly renounce our membership in the Galactic Council," Lisa said. "We declare ourselves free of their rules, and we invite other species to join us in a new alliance, one based on equality, not control." The vote was unanimous. Earth would no longer pretend to follow Council rules. The rebellion that began in secret would now be fought in the open. In the Council chamber, the news caused chaos. Some species demanded Earth be destroyed immediately. Others wondered if it was time for change. High Counselor Zex Terra watched the arguments with growing concern. The impossible had happened. Humans had not only resisted, they had won. And now they were inspiring others to join them. The Council had made a terrible mistake. Earth's announcement spread across the galaxy like fire. On thousands of worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes watched as President Wilson stood before cameras and spoke words that would change everything. Today, Earth formally withdraws from the Galactic Council. We reject their unfair classification of our species. We reject their limits on our growth. We claim our right to explore the stars as equals, not as subjects. Within days, 7 other species followed Earth's example. The Tellarites, with their rocky skin and gentle nature. The Vroom, who lived in oceans and built cities of coral. The Narian Vulturi, who had secretly helped humans. The blue-skinned Delvians, the crystalline Lumerians, and the gaslight people of Xanthu. Together, they formed the Alliance of Free Worlds. In a ceremony on New Horizon, Richard Taylor was elected as its first chairman. He was a farmer's son who had risen through Earth's diplomatic corps, known for his fairness and clear thinking. The Alliance stands for freedom, equality, and mutual support, Richard said in his acceptance speech. No species will rule over others. No world will be stripped of resources against its will. All voices will be heard. The Council's response was swift and harsh. The Alliance is declared illegal, they announced. All trade with Alliance worlds is forbidden. Any Council species dealing with humans or their allies will face severe punishment. For a time, the embargo hurt. Alliance worlds needed medicines and materials that only the Council could provide, but hardship brought creativity. Alliance scientists worked together to solve problems. Humans taught other species to think in new ways. The Nari showed humans how to grow plants that could make medicines. The Lumerians shared their crystal technology that stored massive amounts of energy. Dr. Mevnar led a team studying Council technology. What they discovered shocked everyone. The Council's technology has barely changed in 3,000 years, he explained to Alliance leaders. The founder species, the original Council members, have been controlling all development. They give just enough new technology to keep other species dependent, but hold back anything that might make them too powerful. Susan Bennett frowned. Why would they do that? Control, Dr. Mevnar said simply. The founders use the younger species for resources and labor. They create the impression of a fair system while ensuring they always remain on top. Richard Taylor looked troubled. How many species know this truth? Very few, Dr. Mevnar replied. The Council spreads fear of aggressive species to keep everyone in line. If you question the system, you might be labeled aggressive yourself. Meanwhile, the human habit of questioning everything spread throughout the Alliance. Why did ships need to be built a certain way? Why couldn't weapons be smaller but more effective? Why accept limits at all? Alliance ships ventured into systems previously closed by Council decree. They found planets rich in resources, abandoned by the Council as strategically unimportant. They discovered ancient ruins that told a different history than the one the Council taught. Michelle Sanders, now Earth's ambassador to former Council worlds, traveled widely. She met with leaders who were still loyal to the Council, but had doubts. She showed them proof of the Council's deception. They classified Earth as aggressive because we adapt quickly, she explained to the Xanthari High Command. But what they really fear is change. They've built a system where they stay in power forever, while pretending to serve all species. Slowly, doubts spread through Council space. Major species began to question the old ways. The Xanthari, with their powerful fleet, began to refuse Council orders. The Palaxians, masters of technology, stopped sharing their innovations with the Council. In the Great Council chamber, the 7 founder species argued among themselves. Some blamed others for letting humans join the Council at all. Some demanded immediate military action to crush the Alliance. Others suggested compromise before it was too late. High Counselor Zex Terra watched his fellow founders with growing alarm. The Council had ruled for thousands of years because they stayed united. Now, faced with a true challenge, that unity was cracking. The human rebellion was becoming something much larger. It was becoming a revolution that threatened the entire galactic order. The cracks in the Council grew wider each day. Species that had followed the rules for centuries began to ask questions. Why could they not settle certain planets? Why were some technologies forbidden? Why did the founders always have final say in all decisions? Michelle Sanders traveled to worlds across the galaxy. She carried proof of the Council's deception. The secret files showing how species were classified, how resources were unfairly distributed, how the founders maintained control. The Council calls Earth aggressive, she told the leaders of the Xanthari Empire. But look at these records. In the past 1,000 years, the founders have destroyed 17 species that questioned their authority. Who is truly aggressive? The Xanthari were a proud warrior race with golden skin and 4 arms. They had served the Council loyally for generations, but they valued honor above all else, and the evidence of the Council's lies disturbed them deeply. After 3 days of debate, the Xanthari made their decision. Their massive fleet, second only to the founders in size and power, withdrew from Council space. They declared themselves independent, though not yet part of the Alliance. Other major civilizations followed. The Palaxians, masters of technology. The Drav Collective, with their hive mind and resource-rich worlds. The ancient Yith, who had been among the first to join the Council after the founders. In the Great Council chamber, the 7 founder species turned on each other. Old rivalries that had been buried for thousands of years surfaced again. The Vordarians pushed for accepting humans too quickly, accused the Mythlar representative, his tentacles waving angrily. The Quolani failed to properly monitor their development, countered Zexterra. As the founders argued, more species slipped away from their control. Some joined the Alliance, others formed their own groups. The careful balance of power the Council had maintained for millennia was falling apart. The hardliners among the founders grew desperate. "We must make an example of the humans," declared Supreme General Vorkath of the Quolani. "Their homeworld must be destroyed to show all species the price of rebellion." Despite objections from moderate founders, the Council's remaining loyal fleet gathered for a final assault on Earth. 200 massive warships, carrying planet-destroying weapons, set course for the Sol system. Alliance intelligence detected the attack force early. Admiral Gregory Wilson assembled every ship the Alliance could spare, a fleet of 300 vessels, smaller than the Council ships but faster and more innovative. The 2 fleets met in the space between Jupiter and Mars. The Council commander sent a final message: surrender Earth to Council authority or face extinction. Gregory's reply was brief: "We would rather die free than live as slaves." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Council ships used proven tactics that had worked for thousands of years. Alliance ships changed strategies constantly, confusing their enemies. Human captains worked alongside alien allies, combining their different ways of thinking. The Nari's small, quick ships darted between massive Council vessels, disrupting their formations. Vulturi psychics confused enemy targeting systems. Human-designed weapons found weaknesses in Council shields that no one had discovered before. On Earth, people watched the battle through space telescopes. Cities fell silent as everyone followed the news. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future. After 10 hours of fighting, the Council fleet began to retreat. 30 of their great ships had been destroyed. 50 more were badly damaged. The Alliance had lost many ships too, but Earth was safe. As the Council forces fled, a message arrived from the Xanthari Empire: "We have seen who fights with honor." The Xanthari joined the Alliance of Free Worlds. Similar messages came from the Palaxians and 3 other major powers. The balance had tipped. The Alliance now controlled more ships, more resources, and more worlds than the fractured Council. In the Council chamber, High Counselor Zexterra faced the truth. "We seal our fate the day we tried to contain humanity. We should have welcomed them as equals. Now we must face the consequences of our mistake." The revolution that began with one planet had become a galactic transformation, and it was not yet complete. 5 years passed since humans first met the Galactic Council. 5 years of struggle, discovery, and change. Now, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered on Earth for a historic moment. The Great Hall in New Washington gleamed with light. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors filled the room. Some breathed different air and wore special suits. Others floated in tanks of liquid. All had come to witness the end of one era and the beginning of another. Richard Taylor, still chairman of the Alliance, stood at the center. Beside him were the former High Counselors Zex Terra and leaders from across the galaxy. Today, the Galactic Council officially dissolves, Richard announced. In its place, we establish the Galactic Confederation, a union of equals dedicated to freedom, cooperation, and progress. The crowd erupted in sounds of approval. Cheers, clicks, whistles, and hums, each species expressing joy in their own way. The new confederation was built on different principles than the old council. All species had equal voting rights. No technology was restricted. Any peaceful species could join. The 7 founder species were welcome, but as equals, not rulers. Most of the founders accepted the new reality. They surrendered their special privileges and joined the confederation. Only the Quolani refused, retreating to their home systems to isolate themselves from change. As the ceremony continued, Admiral Paul Evans stood quietly at the back of the hall. He had led the final campaigns that ended council resistance. Now he watched as the peace he fought for took shape. A young aide approached him. "Admiral, we found something in the old council archives. Something about humans. The science team thinks you should see it." Paul followed the aide to a secure room where Dr. Olivia Daniels waited with several alien scientists. They had been studying records recovered from the council's most secret vaults. "We've discovered why the founders truly feared humans," Olivia said. She displayed images of ancient DNA strands. "These are from a species called the progenitors. They challenged the founders' power over 1,000,000 years ago and nearly won. The founders thought they had eliminated them completely." Paul looked at the DNA and then at a comparison with human genetic code. The similarities were striking. "We're descendants of the progenitors?" he asked. Dr. Mevnar nodded. "A small group must have escaped to Earth, a primitive world of no interest to the founders. Over time, they adapted to Earth conditions and evolved into modern humans. When you developed space travel, the founders recognized something familiar in your genetic pattern. Their ancient fear returned. So their attempt to contain us was based on a 1,000,000-year-old grudge," Olivia finished. "The founders tried to prevent history from repeating itself. Instead, they caused exactly what they feared." Back in the Great Hall, the ceremony reached its conclusion. Leaders from all worlds came forward to sign the Confederation Charter. Last to sign was Lisa Garcia, now Earth's senior diplomat. As Lisa put down her pen, she looked at the crowd of diverse beings working together. She remembered the first meeting with Zex Terra 5 years ago, when humans were classified as dangerous and restricted. "The Council thought they were protecting the galaxy from us," she said to John Miller, who stood beside her. "They never considered that perhaps the galaxy needed what we could offer." John smiled. "Change, innovation, new ways of thinking. And stubbornness," Lisa added with a laugh. "We never accept being told what we can't do." Outside the hall, ordinary citizens of hundreds of species celebrated together. Human music played alongside alien songs. Foods from distant worlds were shared and enjoyed. Children of different species played games together, inventing new rules as they went. On a view screen, Richard Taylor's final words to the assembly were broadcast across the galaxy. "On this day, we right the wrongs of the past and ensure liberty for all sentient beings across the stars." The Council sealed its fate when it tried to contain humanity. But in doing so, they ultimately freed the entire galaxy. As night fell on Earth, the stars seemed brighter than before. They no longer represented distant, forbidden places. They were now homes of friends and allies, all part of a new galactic family that humans had helped create. Humanity had not just found its place among the stars. It had changed what that place would be for everyone.